So I'm breaking in before this video starts to say if you would like to win one of these beautiful Cricut Explore Air 2s, you've come to the right place. There will be a giveaway announcement at the end of this video so you can get your very own. But now let's look at the Cricut and see what all it has to offer. Hey guys, it's Maymay, and I'm so excited to show you the new Cricut Explore Air 2. That's right, it's the 2. So now we have the Cricut Explore, the Cricut Explore 1, the Cricut Explore Air, and the Cricut Explore 2. Now there's a couple of major changes to this one, and that the first one being the color. You notice this one is in this beautiful mint green color, but it's also available in 2 other colors which are on the website, so you can take a look at those. And this one will cut, write, and score at 2 times the speed of the original. And at first I thought, am I really going to need it to cut at 2 times the speed of the original? But once I got it and I played with it, I really do love the faster speed. So this guy, I want to do like a quick little run through and tell you what is all on the Cricut. However, here's what we're going to do for our project today. I'm going to show you how to use Design Space. What I think is more important to me than even knowing everything that's on the machine itself is knowing how to use Design Space and seeing how simple it is to create super cool projects using your Cricut and the free software that comes with it. So before we get started on Design Space, I want to show you this. The Cricut itself has some onboard storage here with a little cup. It has the open button. You saw me press that and you saw it open to reveal this beautiful inside. This new chrome finish that's here and there is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Also, there is storage here in the front. Now you see this on the other models as well, the other Explorers, but I wanted to show you real quick. This area is to hold extra blade housings like your deep cut blade, and this little section here has a little magnet to hold your extra blades themselves. So that's awesome, so you won't lose them. This section is just a big old storage section where you can put a lot of goodies in. So we'll close those down. They also close with magnet. I think that's super cool. Now, notice on this machine you have an A housing and a B housing. On every Explorer except the Explorer 1, this is how this looks. The Explorer 1 has only 1 housing. You still can do the same thing with it. You're just using 1 housing to make it happen instead of 2. So you still can score and write. You just put everything into 1 housing. So on this side of the machine, you have your power switch in the back and your smart set dial. Now here's what I love about this dial. So the folks at Cricut have set this up so that several of our most popular or most used materials are already set on this dial. What that means is, let's say you're going to be cutting something out of poster board. You'll turn this dial to the poster board setting and it automatically tells the blade the depth that it needs for poster board. Now I think that's awesome because I do not like having to discover what the depth is or to practice to figure that out. The other settings here are paper, vinyl, iron-on, light cardstock, bonded fabric, and poster board. There's also a custom setting. Now just when you think, wait a minute, I use more materials than that, which the Cricut can cut a lot more materials than that, by the way, you can set your dial to custom, and then in your Design Space program, you have a whole lot of options for what you want to do. I've even cut copper on my Cricut. Yep, copper. I'll link that video below for you. You also have the upload or the load button, so you can load and unload your mat. This is the go button, that's what I call it. It's the little Cricut icon, and then the pause button. So that's a basic overview of the machine. And what I want to do now is spend some time in Design Space and us do a project together. Now after I created in Design Space, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you this machine as it writes and as it cuts our project. All right, so let's get to Design Space. So for me, the best way to teach you what the Cricut does and to answer all the questions I receive is to show you by making a project. So the project I'm going to make today is something similar that I do in my classrooms where we kind of touch all the features that I can get to super easy for you guys to use. So the first thing you'll do is you'll head to Cricut.com, and in this top corner you'll see Cricut Design Space. We're going to click there. Design Space is the free software that comes with the Cricut. This is what you'll use to create your images, to upload your cartridges to find Make It Now projects, you name it. So notice that I'm signed in. It shows my name in this little box. That lets Cricut know who signed in, and it also lets it know that I have the Cricut Access. This access gets me access to up to 30,000 plus images, 1,000 plus projects, 370 plus fonts, and 10% off orders and exclusive content. Super cool. Now this can cost you $7.99 a month if you pay for a year in advance. I pay for mine monthly until it's $9.99. So what I'm going to do is show you this section. This is one of my favorite sections in the whole of Design Space. This is called Make It Now projects. It means exactly that. You have time, you've got a few minutes, you want to make a project, you start to look through these images and you see one that you like. Let's say this My First Boo onesie. You click on the photograph and it takes you to what I like to call the recipe. This is where you find your instructions, your material list, everything you need to know how to make this project. Notice it even tells you a baby onesie, iron, press cloth, everything you need is listed there. Notice down here, now this image that we chose is an access image. You saw that it had an A on the picture and it also has these A's here. It lets us have these images with no extra charge because I'm an access member. If I wasn't an access member, these may have a charge to them. Some may not, some may be free images, but I might have to pay for these. If I did, I'd see the total right here and I'd know before I ever got started making the project so there wouldn't be any surprises. The other cool thing, it tells me this is an easy project and it's going to take me about 30 minutes or less. I love this. Okay, so there is what a Make It Now project is. So I've scrolled back to the top of the page and I want to create a new project in Design Space. I'm going to click Create New Project and notice it brings up my mat for me. This looks a lot like the Cricut cutting mat because that's exactly what it is. You're going to build on the mat and then put the mat into the machine. Now, one of my favorite things to make are Christmas tags. I absolutely adore making Christmas tags, and I'm going to show you how to make one today that's going to use a lot of the features in Design Space and be super easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is head to Insert Shapes. This is one of my favorite parts of Design Space. Everything I use most often is in this little area. Score line, circle, triangle, all my basic shapes, and this is where we're going to start. I'm going to pick a square. Now I really want a rectangle, but I'm going to start with the square. Notice how this square has these little buttons around it. If I click on the grid, they go away. That tells me that that image is no longer selected. So I want to click it again. By selecting the image, anything I do at this point is going to happen to this image. So I want to resize the image. I'm going to head over to the Edit panel. At this point, I can see that my image is 2.4 inches tall and wide and that the proportions are locked. Well, I want my image to be 3 inches wide by 4 inches tall. So I'm going to unlock this lock, change the top to 3 inches and hit enter, and then change the bottom to 4 and hit enter. And that changes my height and my width separately. If I had left the lock there, then it would have changed them the same whenever I changed the numbers. Now I'm going to come back over. Another thing, and this is just personal preference, I'm going to be working with white cardstock, so I want this image to be white. So I'm going to head to Layers. You can see that this is the image we're using, the gray square. I'm going to click on it. Here it opens up the layer attributes, and in this box here, you can change the cut. You can make it a right image, you can make it a score image, you can make it a print image. Lots of stuff you can do here. But what I want to do is change the color. So I'm going to click white. Notice it changed just the color, not anything else. That's exactly what I wanted. Now, a rectangle tag is cute, but it's not cute enough. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to add another image. I'm going to add a star. And by adding this star, I'm going to be able to teach you about the process that's called welding. I get asked about welding all the time, so I want to show you how it works. I want this star to live above this tag, but I want them to cut as one piece. If I were to leave it like this, my rectangle and my star would cut separately because nothing is told to stay together. So what I want to do is resize this star first. See this little button right here to the side, the bottom right hand? I'm going to grab it and pull it. That will resize the image and it keeps it with the lock proportion, so I know I'm keeping my star shape. You can unlock it and make your star tall or make it wide. That's up to you. The other thing I want to do is I want this star to be centered above this tag. So I'm going to click the star to select it. I'm going to hold the Shift button down on my keyboard and then select the rectangle. That selects both images. Now I don't have to do it that way. I'll show you another way. I'm going to unselect them. Now I'm going to take my cursor and put it in the top left of the screen. I'm going to click and drag with my mouse, and you see how it selects them both. So either way works. Now I'm going to go to the Align option at the top of the screen. Click that down, and you see I get this drop down with all these options for how to align the images. Well, I want them to be centered horizontally. And here's the cool thing. If you're like me and you can't remember horizontally from vertically, I know. It's just one of those things. These little pictures show you exactly what you're fixing to do. So I'm going to click center horizontally. When I do that, you saw the star move and now it's centered. Now this star is a little bit down low for me. I'm going to lift it up a little bit, but all I need to make sure is that the star and the rectangle overlap each other enough for them to weld, just a tiny bit. Now I need to select both of these guys again. Now I'm going to weld them together by simply heading over to the Layers panel and clicking Weld. Now the way you'll know that your image is welded together, notice that now they're all one color and you can see that little gap between them that's going to tell the Cricut not to cut them apart. Now this is fine and good, but it's going to have something to hang it with if it's going to be a tag, right? So let's head back to Insert Shapes and pick a circle this time. Now this circle is going to be way bigger than I need it, so I'm going to grab this little button here and shrink it down. You could do this in your edit panel and put it exactly the size. Maybe you want it to be 1/4 of an inch exactly. You could do that, but I'm okay with just resizing it by hand. Now I'm going to leave this one selected, hold down the shift and select the tag. Now I've got both of those images selected. Now I want to slice this circle out of this star. To slice, you have to have only 2 images. You cannot have multiple images. So let's say I had 2 stars stacked here and then I put the circle and I wanted to slice it. I couldn't do that. We can only do it with 2 images. So I'm going to head over here to Layers and you'll see that Slice is where I can click it. So I'll click Slice. I like to imagine that this is kind of like a cookie cutter. So imagine that our tag is the dough. I put a circle here that was my cookie cutter. So I'm going to remove my cookie cutter now and get rid of it because I don't need it anymore. Now I'm going to remove that dough that it leaves behind and get rid of it. Now if you notice, you can see the grid behind my tag. Let me move it where you can see it even better. See the grid behind there? Because I've sliced that circle out. Now this guy needs to be decorated. Here comes the fun part. Ready? We're going to head to Insert Images. Can you believe that we've created this whole tag without ever inserting a single image, only using the shapes? Let's go to Insert Images. Now here you see you can search among 60,000 plus images. Well, I don't want to spend that much time searching. I want to make sure whatever image I pull up is one that's included in my access. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to filter my search by access. You can filter it by lots of different things. If you notice when I do that filter, you can see my images, by free images, by things you've uploaded or purchased, but I'm going to do it by access. Now all the pictures that pop up have that little A to let me know they're included in access. Now I want to find something like Merry Christmas. Let's just put in the word Merry and see what we get. Perfect. Okay. These items are now in my access. I can use anything I see here and it won't charge me any extra. So I think what I'm going to do is use 2 of these images, this Wishing You and this Merry Christmas. Notice when I clicked those, the check mark stayed there, and also it kind of put them down here in this little waiting area for me. Let's say I decided that I changed my mind and I didn't want to use this Wishing You. I could just click it again and it would go away. Or let's say that I found this image, did another search, found another image, and decided I didn't want one that I had. These little guys, when you hover over them, you get this little red X and you can delete them and they won't go to the map when you click Insert Images. I think that's kind of cool to know. All right, I'm going to insert those images. Now these images are cute. I'm going to separate them from each other. I'll put Merry Christmas up here for a second and Wishing You here. They're super cute, but I feel like they don't match very well. I feel like I want this word Christmas to be the same color as this U. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ungroup this guy. Notice how when I click on it, I look down here and I see ungroup. That means there's multiple layers. I'm going to ungroup it. I can also see the multiple layers here in my Layers panel. Now that I've ungrouped it, they're all laying here. Now I want this word Christmas to be the same color as this one. So we need to do something first, and that is I need to click over here in the panel on And Yours and see what color it is. Well, here's the color that it is, and here's its custom color. I'm going to highlight that with my mouse, copy it, and then I'll have it for when I get ready to change the color of Christmas. Now the word Christmas is right here, so if I click on there, that color panel will pop out again, and I can then highlight this and paste in the new color. See how it changed automatically? Super cool. So now these guys match much better. Now before I move this anywhere, I want to group these back together or I'll have a mess. So I'm going to highlight over those and group them back. So now anything I do, they'll stay together. Speaking of, I want to resize it, so I'm going to shrink this down because I want it to live on my tag. So I'm going to bring it right over to the tag and put it into place like this and shrink it until I'm happy with the size. And that looks pretty good. Now this little guy, I want to be in the star. I think this will be super cute. So I'm going to bring it up here and I'm going to shrink it down pretty small. But also, if I use this little half circle and I rotate it, I think I can get this guy to fit in here much better. Let's do this, shrink it some more, put it in place, just wherever you'd like it. So wishing you and yours Merry Christmas. But it really needs to say a Merry Christmas, wouldn't you think? So I'm going to move this just a tiny bit here, and let's add some text. I'm going to click on Add Text and put in the letter A. Now, this letter A is the default that's always going to pop up this font, but that's not the font I want to use. I'm going to head over to the Edit panel and click Edit. Notice this drop down. When you click this button, you'll see that you have all of these options. The one I want to choose here is called Has a Writing Style. If I click this one, then all of the fonts that are going to pull up underneath here will be something that I know will work well with my marker. Now there are lots of fonts, lots of them. Takes a minute for them to load. When I click this drop down, check it out. If I had not have narrowed this down to Has a Writing Style, there'd be a bunch more fonts as well. Notice the ones with the A beside them, those are included in your access. Any of these guys are available for purchase. I think I'm going to choose Botanicals for this A. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's good. I like it. Alright, so I'm going to bring it up here and I'm going to shrink it down just enough to live in this area right there. Good deal. Now we have all this space left down here. Maybe it needs a to and from. So let's add some more text. I'm going to go right here and type in the words to. I'm going to enter and type in from. And you can see that this is writing it here in that same font I just used, but I don't like that one as much. I'm going to head back over here and change that one again. This time I think I'm going to change it to Chloe. That looks cute. Now it's time to resize it to fit here. The first thing I want to point out is see how far to is away from. Check this out. If you head to the Edit panel, you'll see this option line spacing. You even have letter spacing. You can pull your letters where you like them to. I'm going to go to line spacing and click once, twice, and I think I like that better. I like where those are. Now let's shrink this down a little bit. Just like this. Now here's what's even cooler. Let's say you know exactly who you're making this tag for. You can come right up here and say to your family. From our family. And then we can shrink this down to fit on the tag, and we don't even have to write the names or anything in it. How cool is that? Now all of this is super cute, but we have a couple of things left to do. One is, if I look at this image and I come over to my edit panel where it is, do you see that it has scissors beside it? That's because Cricut thinks I want to cut those images out, but I don't. I actually want them to print where they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click these little scissors right beside there and press print. And I can do that to all three of those and just press print. So now that is ready to print. Now I need to do that with this one as well. So I'm going to head over here to the edit panel. What I'm going to do this time, instead of clicking every single one of those, is I'm just going to press the button flatten. And that turns it into a print item too. There's always a couple of ways to do things in Cricut, and I like to show you as many as I can. So now that I've told the Cricut I want these guys to be printed items, I need to also tell it that I want them to print right where they are. I want these to print where they are, and I want these to write where they are. But in order to do that, I need to attach them to the tag. So here's what we'll do. We'll take a box and grab the whole image. This selects everything on it. I'm going to head over here to my Layers panel and click Attach. By doing that, I can grab this tag and move it around anywhere I want on the page, and I know that these guys are going to stay where they are. Now you also notice that the image, the dark line went away. That's okay, because it's going to print and then it still knows to cut. Now we're ready to go and see what this looks like. So I'm going to click Go. Now when we click Go, you'll see that the Cricut shows us a cutting mat and a white 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock on it, which is exactly what I'm going to use. Now this is ready to print on your home printer. You don't have to connect your Cricut to your printer. You just have to be sure your computer can speak to your printer like it always does. Mine happens to be wireless, so I can do it right from my desk here. Now it's also going to print these little black lines. These are called registration marks. That's what's going to help the Cricut read where it needs to cut. So this guy's ready to go. I'm going to say go. Now you'll see that it's telling me I need to select my Cricut device. If you only have one Cricut device and it's connected by Bluetooth already, you can just click, just that one device will pop up anyway. But I have two and I've got to tell it which one, so I'm going to click the Cricut Explore Air 2. There's a reason for that because that's the one I'm showing you today. Now I can click Print Page. When I do this, you'll see that it's going to open my home printer. So I will tell this to print to my own home printer. The other cool thing is I can tell it to print multiple copies. So if I want to make this tag 4 or 5 or 6 times, I can do that right here. So I'll just tell this to print. Now that I've printed it, Design Spaces tell me I need to load my mat. So I'm going to load my material to my mat and then load it into the Cricut. So now you can see that I've printed the piece on some white cardstock, and you might notice that my to and from and the A is not here. That's because we're going to do that with a marker. I want to show you how to use markers as well. So now I'm going to slide the mat underneath the little mat guides there, and putting a tiny bit of pressure on the end, I'm going to press the load button. Now that I have it loaded into the Cricut, I can go back to my computer and I can read the little blue line at the top that is telling me to please load the Midnight pen into the accessory clamp. I didn't show you this earlier, but you can change the color of your pen in there as well, but I'm using the black pen anyway, so this works. So now I'm going to load the marker into the accessory clamp. So I'm going to open the little arm. I'm going to take the cap off of my marker and put it onto the top. Then I'm going to slide it down into that little hole, but I need to put some pressure slightly on the bottom as I press this down. Then it will click into place and I can lock the clamp back. Now I've set the dial on my Cricut to cardstock, and you can see here it says dial position sets cardstock. Now I'm going to click fast mode. This is what the Cricut Explore Air 2 is known for. It can cut 2 times faster and write 2 times faster. So I'm going to let you see it do that in action. So now I've got it ready to go. My Cricut light is flashing. I'm going to press it. First, it's going to read those registration marks. That's how it'll know exactly where to write and cut. So now we're going to start writing with the marker. It's read the registration marks, it knows where to write, and it's going to get started. Now while it's writing, I want to encourage you to go and check out my friend Ken's video on Ken's Creations. He did a beautiful side-by-side comparison showing you fast mode versus regular cut mode with the Cricut Explore Air, and it was so well done that I want you guys to check it out. I'm going to put a link below. He shows you timers, he shows you literally how much faster this machine can be. So I'm going to link that video below. Be sure to go check that one out so you can see just how fast this guy works. Now you'll see it cut in fast mode. It is a little louder, but it is faster. Now it's done and we can remove it from the mat. So now we're just removing this from the mat so we can see what it turned out like. And check it out. We have a tag that we welded a star to. We printed on, we wrote on with our markers and everything. And that is what the Cricut can do. Now it can do so much more. It can do vinyl cutouts, so you can put vinyl on your walls, on your car, on glass, on your laptop. You can do iron-on vinyl, so you can make t-shirts for gifts and so much more. So that's our project, and I hope you learned a whole lot from getting to see this made from start to finish. I want to say thank you again to the folks at Cricut. I think this is a beautiful machine and well worth it. I love the 2 times speed. I love the 2 times cut. I think it's amazing, and I'm really, really glad to have it in my collection, and I can't wait to start teaching classes using this. Again, don't forget this is a giveaway video, so make sure you look below. Check on that link that takes you to the blog post on how to enter to win this beautiful machine, or at least a Cricut Explore Air 2. I don't know if it'll be this color. I don't know anything about that. I just know you'll be winning a Cricut Explore Air 2. So good luck. Get your entry in. Thanks so much for watching today, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.